All right, welcome back to the PMR podcast. This is episode 10. My name is Mitch. I'm an alcoholic addict.
What's up, you guys? I'm Andrew. I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic. Thank you for tuning in. If you're wondering why Mitch is in the dark, it is nighttime. We are doing this zero dark 30 style. It's 12:40 here in Boston. It's 9:40 over there in LA. This is just I don't think I was talking to Mitch before this episode, and I was like, he was kind of thanking me for being on this, and I was like, dude, thank you, number one, for like inviting me to share in your page and your mission and your vision. But number two, like, you don't have to thank me, bro. Like, I it's wild because I wouldn't want to be doing anything else at 12. This is one of the only things that I would want to do, like, past midnight. Like, I'm an early bird. Like, I go to bed early, I get in bed, I read a book, I'm out like a light, 10 p.m. if I can. So, um, I'm off on a tangent already. I don't care. I got a lot of coffee in my system. This is going to be a great episode.
It's gonna be a good one.
So let me just remind everyone while we're here. I mean, this is episode 10. And I'm extremely grateful for it. But this podcast and the page and everything we've been doing together is just it's a really cool community that's been growing. Like, it's just been growing steadily. We have 56 subscribers. We're on the way to 57.
Yes, sir.
And we just have grown a pretty cool community of people who are, either curious about sobriety or are young and they're in recovery. And I really just I love the energy and the, like, just the vibes and the positivity that we've kind of created and that other people have created through watching this thing and getting involved with the page. And I'm really, really, really excited to keep growing it with you, man. So yeah, like, without further ado, like, last episode was crazy. Like, I was like, I don't know, I kind of felt like in awe almost of, like, again, I've never met you, Wild. I really never met Greg. I saw him around campus. Like, I knew he was kind of a legend and everything, but I really never spoke to him or anything. And I could feel a connection. Like, I could feel a palpable connection between you and him, like, on the computer. And that's a pretty crazy thing. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts, dude. Like, what'd you think about last episode? I mean, it was crazy. Like, having a guest on, it was amazing, bro.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was a lot of fun to have a guest on, and for that first guest to be someone that was so important in my life. I appreciate you, like, having Greg be our first guest. He's yeah, he held it down for me crazy. Like, um, when some of the hardest times of my life. So I can't thank him enough for that. I mean, he was a person that I saw every single day, twice a day, at least, throughout the first 3 years of my recovery. So if that was a person that wasn't supportive, that would be a much different 3 years. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So yeah, I reflected on the podcast a lot this week, listened to it a couple times. And I appreciated him being open about some of his life experiences with it, and
Mm.
talking about just talking openly and honestly about that and sharing that with us. I know I had some people on the team currently, and some other people that are alum from the team with me that were like, that one was fucking sick, because not everyone sees that side of Greg. I had a chance to see a little bit of that side of him because I met with him so much. He talks about how we met every single Monday in a private meeting. But not everyone gets to see that. A lot of people only got to see the coach side of him. So I'm appreciative that he opened up that side of him for more people to see.
I mean, yeah, and I was actually gonna ask too, like, we saw such almost like a contemplative and almost like philosophical side of him.
Yeah.
And it kind of contrasted with what I was expecting. Like, because the way you guys train, like you said, you saw him, like you said, twice a day. like every day. Like
Mm-hmm.
if anything, and for the listeners, like I almost want you to appreciate like how hard that these swimmers worked. Like us on the lacrosse team, we'd watch you guys. We'd be like, these dudes are fucking nuts. Like what? Like these
five
guys are
hours of practice,
crazy,
5 hours of practice a day. Monday to Friday was 5 hours of practice. Saturday was another 2 hour practice.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, so again, I expected him to be kind of really kind of intense and to the point, and I'm sure he has that
Yeah, I was
side of
gonna say
him, and
he,
he is like I'm about to say I'm sure he does, but it was almost like it was refreshing to see that he was like he has that almost softer, more I don't know, like relational side, and to have that for like be that type of person and try to create like those personal relationships for the like all the individuals on the team. I don't know. It's just he's a really special dude, man, and like higher power like that. Certain people get put in our lives, and we know like that we got lucky, and they got put in our lives for a reason, and
yeah,
I think you realize that, and that I just know that again, having not even really seen that bond in person, I can tell that that bond is special, dude.
yeah. Well, you know what tripped me out about something you said was you said like he was your sponsor, and I thought about that all week, and I was like, damn, he really was. Like he really, really was in one way or another. He's kind of nuts. But
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
I look forward to our having. We have another person kind of semi plan to come on. Um, and then a bunch of friends and stuff like that that would love to come on pretty much at a drop of a penny or whatever that saying is. Uh, so yeah, I'm excited to start bringing on more people because I feel like bringing in outside opinions is like a very good way to like for us to grow and for like the channel to reach more people.
It's funny too, like when I got off, I almost felt like I like because most episodes we turn it off and we kind of take a deep breath and we're like, oh, like that was intense, or like I just talked Mitch's ear off for a fucking hour or what like but I almost had the privilege. I felt like I just had a privilege to sit and listen to somebody really like drop knowledge on me and a perspective that I didn't have. Like,
Facts.
and that was, I don't know, that was an incredible gift, an incredible gift. So more to come on that. I'm wicked excited to, I think coming in the near future, like little spoilers, when we get those friends episode on and we have that perspective, that's going to be wild, dude.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, that's gonna be
Yeah,
wild perspective for us, man.
yeah, I agree.
But yeah, and like I don't know, like one question I had, dude, is like how. I mean, I almost think as an outsider looking in, I think that I see your relationship with him almost as like he's a role model type of individual. Like, and I know that you work within like you still work within swimming. Like you're very active in it. Like, bro, like I almost want to say like you could be that guy. Like, do you have any desire to like go to that level of coaching or mentoring? Like, because I
Uh,
don't know. I see it, bro. Like
yeah,
I see it.
I appreciate you saying that. It's funny you say that because I love coaching, bro. Like I coached all through um, high school and then coached in college too, here and there, like summer teams or this and that. And then when I moved to LA, I started basically like my own private coaching thing. I mean, it's private like instruction, but last year I
Mm.
started coaching a high school girls team and like a high school girls swim team, and I loved it. Like having like being put in a position where you can help people like achieve their goals and seeing them do things that they didn't think they could do and stuff like that. Cause I remember that's what I fell in love with swimming in the first place. And like any sport, really, when you're in that coaching position, it's like you have so much, like you're way more vital than I think you might think you are.
Yeah.
Like the impact that you make, like how you talk to them, how you instruct them, all that, how you like celebrate with them and everything like that, like it is not just like forgotten, you know what I mean? And
Right.
I mean, I was a product of really good coaching when I was a young kid, and I like remember distinctly my favorite coaches when I was younger, and like the
Mhm.
impact they made on me and work ethic, and the impact they made on me and everything. So I would love to do coaching if it was something I could do um,
It's
continuously.
funny too, like in AA, right? One of those big, one of the three sides is service, right? Like,
Yeah,
and I almost think that it extends beyond service to AA. Like it's service in our lives. Like, and I think one of the like my favorite things just that I've learned in sobriety is like when I'm stuck in my head or stuck in my ways and I can't get off like the hamster wheel of self-doubt and like anxiousness, there's nothing that I can do like for myself that's going to really fix that. Like the best way for me to remedy that is almost like to get out of myself, to go and like either talk with somebody, run a group, like you could say go to a meeting or be of service to somebody, but I think like fitting neatly in that category is coaching or being of service to someone else, like
I agree.
almost like you said, seeing how like the grade that you're coaching in the high school level, and I think just in general like young people are very impressionable,
Yeah,
and when we realize like the impression that we can have on people and how almost impactful that we can be, like not inflating our egos but just knowing that like we
they're
can lead
looking
by
at you.
example, and
Yeah,
just the nature of coaching is like almost the miracle of seeing somebody else make progress where maybe they didn't believe themselves in the first place. Like that gives me a tremendous amount of hope. Like, so
yeah,
I think honestly, in like in this program, like being of service and as former athletes, like being coaches is almost, it's like a perfect fit. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're being of service. It's not strictly within the realm of alcoholism and addiction, but it's like we're helping somebody else achieve a goal, and by doing so, we're getting something out of it. It's like our sponsors say all the time, like, and my sponsor says this all the time, and it pisses me off sometimes, but I've come to believe that it's true. Is he says that I help him sometimes more than I think he helps me.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. I just think that like that whole coaching scene is it's the same relationship. Like I haven't done really nearly as much as you, but in my limited experience, I've seen that like coaching someone through, whether it's athletics or tutoring or whatever, like seeing something click for them is like it's almost more rewarding than it is for the kid, like
Right.
to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I completely agree. I will say, just so we let everybody know what this episode is gonna look like, Andrew and I have come up with questions for each other for episode 10, a little special episode. Obviously, it's mad late too, so it's it's a little wild episode. But the first, I mean, that was basically one of the first questions right there. But I do completely like I feel like also being like young in recovery and stuff, we've kind of been through some things that not a lot of people our age have been through. So in terms of like, I know when I came back to the team, I had a much different perspective on what it is to be on a team and like how that can be taken away and stuff like that, and how valuable teamwork and being there for your teammates and stuff is. So I've tried to
Right.
implement that into the kids that I coach too, like working together, like a lot of the stuff that I learned at Denison through Greg, through the assistants, Kim, Kellen, um, Amanda, all the assistants there. I like copy and pasted a lot of that onto the high school team I coached last year, and like that was part
Mhm.
of the reason why they swam like so well. It's just like there's a big part of coaching that gets passed down. You know what I mean? And there's a big part of recovery that gets passed down. Right? It's kind
Right.
of like the sponsorship tree. There's like a coaching tree. I mean, I guess that's like a lot of things, but there
But
is
it's
not like
similar.
It's very similar. And when you were saying like it's almost like rewarding, like there's no other feeling like for swimming specifically. Like I had a girl last year, for example, who like didn't really know how to swim that well at all. She was a freshman and like couldn't swim at all. Like, I mean, she could do freestyle, but couldn't do all four strokes really. And by the end of the year for junior varsity, she at our championship meet, she won the 100 IM, which is where you have to do all four strokes in 4 laps. And like her face when she finished and like running up and like that, I love that, bro. That's like exactly why I coach because
Yeah.
that shit is so dope.
And you forget all your own problems at that
Yeah,
moment.
yeah,
You know what
right.
I mean? Like
Yeah,
all the
like that.
little shit that's added up through the day, the exact like, you know what? It's like it's it's all about like look at where we got. Look at the goal that that
Yeah,
we met. Like
yeah,
look at what we achieved.
yeah.
It's
I remember.
beautiful.
Yeah, I remember even putting her into the 100 IM before the championship meet, and even there, she's like, "I can't do that," and then she like did it and won, and I was like, "We're lit." Like that's my favorite thing about sports too. It instills confidence, bro.
Mm, mm. It's yeah, and it's almost like I don't know why I'm going here, but it's almost like a double-edged sword though, you know what I mean? Like and I think we've talked about this before, and this is kind of moving away from the coaching thing, but like it's funny because you have one experience with athletics, right? Like, and I almost have like a completely different one.
Hmm.
Like, I like, in my opinion, and this is something I still work on, is like, and I have to keep working on, is like, I feel like I gave it up, right? Like I lost it. Um, I lost my chance to be like an athlete. Like when I when I was a freshman, I was a starter on the team. Like I was gonna get big minutes, I thought. Um, there was some like lineup changes that were definitely gonna happen. There were some people that were abroad and that was gonna, things could change when they got back. But kind of going into the main part of fall ball lacrosse, like I was like, this is gonna be my spot to lose. Um, and I thought I was hot shit.
Hmm.
And like I got in trouble a few times. I got in bad trouble a couple times. There were ambulances. There was, it was, it's a disaster. You know what it is. Like
Yeah.
I don't have to recount the whole story, but um, I went pretty much from in the top tier to dead last bottom of the bench type of spot on the depth chart, and the depth chart was posted like
Hmm.
weekly. I saw that, right, and immediately I was like, well, f this, like, and it's tough. Like it's almost been an exercise for me during this podcast, like because I see your story of redemption, right, and
Yeah.
it's tough for me not to get jealous,
Hmm.
like because I didn't have that redemption. Like I was the last on the depth chart. I never really worked my way up. Like my work ethic fell off. Like I continued to use. My using got worse, and I kind of just burnt out of the team after sophomore year. Like that was it. I hung it up. I had to make a choice between using and being on the team, and I chose using. And like it's if there's not like a more stark like illustration of where this disease will take an athlete, like it's in the difference of our two stories in terms of athletics. Like, and I think about this a lot, dude, because it is like I'm an early recovery man. Like I like resentments are still a big part of my story. Like, and I don't resent that you succeeded. I resent that I didn't succeed the same way you did. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like, and that's stuff that I have to like almost deal with like daily, and not, it's like a part of the promises, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. like I wouldn't be the man that I am today if I hadn't had those failures. Like if I hadn't seen myself slide down that scale, like who knows? Like if I had been enabled, if I, if my coach had let me, because he was harsh with me in the same way Greg was, like he was harsh. Um, and he didn't let me slide. Um, he didn't let me just get in trouble and continue to play me. So, and when I think about that part of my story, it's still something I get hung up on, but like I'm making this podcast with you has been like at first like honestly a source of like revisiting this memory with sadness, but then it's given me like perspective. Like,
Mm.
you know what? Mitch wouldn't be the man he is today if he hadn't gotten kicked off the team. Like, and at that time, like the gift of desperation took hold and he was ready to go. Like, and I wouldn't be the man I am today if I hadn't stopped playing, I hadn't slid down the scale, and eventually the gift of desperation, was given to me. But I don't know, dude. It's just a funny contrast because it's like you're a decorated ass swimmer, like, and I'm an intramural basketball champion. Like,
Yeah, I hear you on that, bro. But like, and I understand what you're saying. I really do. I've had similar like I don't have a resentment towards you, but in terms of comparing recoveries, you're hitting shit that I wasn't even close to hitting at a year and a half at a year. You feel me? So like that shit is not just one way. Like we're always gonna compare
right?
and contrast. That's something that we continuously work on. You know what I mean? Like I'm coming up
Yeah,
on 6 years and I'm like one step ahead of you. You feel me? Like you
yeah.
need to understand that like I wish I worked and I know all the fucking sayings and I know we're here now and I'm appreciative of that and I see that and I own that. There's still a part of me that's like, damn, I wish I hit my shit as hard as he is, without even fully knowing like I know you hit your shit hard, but it's not like I know exactly what you do every single day. And like, I wish I could do that. Just in general, I wish that I would have had that perspective at that point because I'm making amends right now to people that I hurt in sobriety.
Mm,
You feel me? And so
mm.
like that has been weighing on me heavy, to be honest with you. But I appreciate you saying that about like my swimming career. I mean, I still look back on my swimming career and be like, I wish I did this, and this too. I never won a solo national championship. I won three team championships, but like there was a year where I wasn't all the way bought in when I was back, and like, in the year that I came back like, we talked about it with Greg a little bit. I'm going to show you type shit and
Right.
like broke the team record in my first shave taper meet. And like that was like probably my favorite swim, next to my last swim my senior year at Denison. My second favorite of all time was that race because like I was still pink clouded out. I was still I
Mm.
was I was still like actually working a program and shit. At that point I was like coming up on a year, and like I swam in that race and broke this team record that I didn't break my freshman year. And like I went down to the warm down pool, which is what you do in swimming after you race. You go like to another pool and like swim up and down slowly, and like broke down crying, bro. Like I will never forget. I like had to go hide all the way in the far corner because I had just celebrated with everybody. But it was this crazy, it was this crazy flip of like, I was kicked off this team less than a year ago.
Mm.
Kicked off. No one had ever come back to the team after being kicked off. I was kicked off this team. And I remember my first sponsor, implanted this into me. And now, while he and I didn't last, which was mostly my fault, um, he implanted to me, you need to be okay with any outcome when you join this team, when you join back with that team. Any outcome. You need to be open to the possibility that you go back and like for lack of a better term, you're washed and you're not fast anymore and you're not, you need to be able to be in a position where if your role now is to be a team player and like a support or whatever, that's what you do. If your role is this, that's what you do. Like you're coming back on thin ice. They didn't have to let you back on the team. They didn't have to let you back in school. That
Right.
perspective helped me a lot my first year, and I lost sight of that going into my junior year a little bit, and then got it back. But I hear you on the comparison thing though, and I appreciate you saying that. But I still look back on my career and wish that I did. I don't look back on it and be like, yeah, that was, look at, whatever.
Right. And I think like that's just the truth of, I mean, it could be for any human being, but I think particularly, people like us, people with this disease, like we're gonna look back on you could have won 4 national championships individually or whatever. And I think even if it like from the outside it looks perfect, what we do is we look back and we like we want to rewrite history. We want it to have been better. Like that's what we do with everything.
Yeah.
Like
Not to
and
Bro, speaking exactly on that, bro, my first nationals back, the year I came back, it was like riding on a gold. I was riding on a chariot into this nationals meet. Like our team was
no
lit.
ego at all.
Bro, our team was lit my sophomore year. I'll hype up my boys, Kamani, Bebe, who was on that team, Stevo. Like the boys rolled deep to that meet my sophomore year. We won by like 250. We literally destroyed Kenyon. Shout out Kenyon. Never mind, I'm not going to say anything bad about them.
Don't do it.
They're a great team. Uh, but like we went in there, destroyed everyone. And then for me personally, I was like, I want my main event was the 200 butterfly. I was the second seed in the country going into that meet to this other kid from who ended up being my mortal enemy. uh, but like it was like I thought it was a 1v1 between me and him, and like I put crazy pressure on myself. Like
Mm.
it was, we went into finals. He was the top, or I was the top seed going into finals because in swimming at a big meet, you swim in the morning to set the seedings for the night. So we swim the race in the morning. I put up the fastest time in the morning. I'm in the middle of the pool going into the night, and this kid's next to me, and I'm like, it's gonna be me and him. Like, wouldn't this be a dope story? Like, I came back from getting kicked off and won the 200 fly at nationals. Like, won my event. Like, that'd be the greatest Cinderbell. I had all these stories before I even swam the race.
Oh yeah.
I had already finished the race, in my head. I was like, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna do a big speech. Everyone's gonna praise me. I got third. No, I didn't even get second. I got
What do
third.
they say, bro? What do they
Yeah,
say in the halls, bro?
bruh.
Expectation is a resentment waiting.
Yep. And while we won that meet overall, our team by like 200, I still was like, fuck, bro. I deserved to win that 200 fly. Out of everything I've been through, I deserved to. And then going into my junior year, same situation, same guy, same ego, but I was faster. He was faster. Same situation, me and him, same thing. That time I got second to him. He touched me out again.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, bro, that I mean,
I
I
love
can right there. I can point out all the things that I wish I would have done better right there, bro. So like just you saying that you left the team, if you walk that back and like say you made it back to the team, would that have satisfied your athletic career?
No, I mean that's what this disease is I'm never
Yeah,
satisfied like
right.
at
You got to
all.
play it out.
Right?
Yep.
Like so that's good advice. I mean, that's just the truth of it is I could have played 4 years. I could have started this, that, or the other thing, and I'd still find a problem with it.
Yep. I was
Like,
gonna
you know
say
what I
like
mean?
I was
I'll
gonna
find
ask
a
you.
problem with anything.
Yeah, I
Like,
was gonna ask you what would have satisfied coming back to the team, winning a national championship, scoring like leading the league in goals. Like, what would it have been where you could have been like, that's enough?
I'm gonna give you a fun fact, bro. I have never scored a goal in high school or college lacrosse.
Or you were a defender?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Those are the
Never
cool
once.
dudes, though. All my friends in high school were defenders. That's not true. Not
Lazy.
all
I
of them,
was
but
just lazy.
some of the cool dudes with the long pole, right? That's
Yeah,
all.
man. I was just lazy though. I didn't want to run anywhere. I just wanted to hang out
Hack,
back there. Yeah.
hack them down. You know what's funny that you played lacrosse is I came from a private school area in Baltimore, so it was like lacrosse to the
That's
max.
everything. I was about to
Yeah,
say. Wait, where did you go?
Loyola Blakefield.
Yeah, but isn't that huge there?
Yeah, we had like the number one recruit in the country on
Yeah.
our high school, and like all the lacrosse stereotypes of like
Mm.
the flow bucket, whatnot.
Oh, dude.
GBs.
We
If
don't have
GBs
we
had
don't
double
have
meaning,
great stereotypes.
lacrosse players, yeah, you don't.
We're not known as the best bunch.
Well, at least you
Always.
don't have the stereotype of being weird that haunted me for most of my life as being a swimmer. Like, if you're a swimmer, you're weird. And I was like, damn.
Mm,
That was pretty much consistent throughout my swimming career.
no comment.
Yep, see? That's all I needed. All right, let's get into some questions, bro.
Lead us off, bro. What do you got for me? I'm kind of nervous.
Let
I
me
gave
pick
you
one
too
here that'll
much
make
time
you.
to prepare.
You did. You did. You really did. I was going to ask a sports question, pretty much exactly what we just talked about. So check that off. Um, that's kind of cheesy. Who's someone specifically you've leaned on throughout your recovery and why?
Man, that's a good question. I
And
mean,
I fully understand that it's a group effort, but does anyone stand out?
right. I mean, the biggest thing I'm going to say is it takes a team,
Right.
and that's like a trip too because I'm selfish and self-serving and everything else, all the down the line, all the bondages of self you could name, um but then it's like, right, it's like the crazy dichotomy, like but I don't want help, don't give me, I don't want any help.
Yeah.
Oh man, like, you see that?
Yeah.
Wild.
There's a ghost in the house.
But I mean, the thing is, like, i don't I don't ever want to let anyone know I need help. I want everybody to know I'm fine. Like, that was it. That was the standard answer for years, is I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm good. Check the box. We're good. And so needing like daily help or daily support
Hmm.
is a like, it's a disaster for me. Like, it's an
Yeah.
ego trip. It's I don't want anybody to, because again, and then we get into masculinity. Like, I don't want anyone to know, like, I don't want to cry. Like, I don't want to be sensitive, but like the thing was, is that type of behavior was killing me. So I have to do the exact opposite of what I was doing before, because what I was doing before was killing me. I'd love to say it's my sponsor, and I love to say it's my parents, like, but I don't think I'm going to give you that answer. Like, I went to treatment with a dude. He's 29 years old. Um, and he got there a week after I did. Um, I knew him, funny enough. Like, it's funny how this thing works, man. Like, I knew him from club basketball
Hmm.
when I was in youth, and again, he was like 4 or 5 years older than me, so he was always in the upper divisions. But I knew him. He was somebody I knew just from practices and tryouts and tournaments and all that stuff. Like AAU hoops, like, you see all sorts of age groups. You got second graders playing in the same gym as 10th graders. So I got to see him play. Like, so I knew him. He got to Heron a week after I did. And I think the biggest thing is, like, I've leaned on him since that day, and the funny thing is like, he's the name that just came to my head, and I kind of expected like another name to pop in, like somebody, like I said, like my sponsor, or somebody with more clean time, or like a
Yeah.
role model like Chris, like,
Yeah. Right.
or a parent, like family member. But the thing is he's walked through like every stage of my recovery with me.
Which is an
Like,
indescribable bond.
yeah, I can't replicate it with
Yeah.
anyone.
For sure.
Like, and I, again, like, me and you have a great bond. Like, me and my parents have renewed our bond and relationship is stronger, and my sponsor and I, we have a good relationship. Like, he's helped me through things that maybe this friend of mine couldn't. just because he didn't have the toolbox. But like, this dude has been through that grueling process with me,
Mhm.
and been like physically there the entire time. And I actually heard it tonight when I was working. Like, like the hardest thing that you'll ever do in life is, as an addict or an alcoholic, is go to treatment. Like the hardest, the most admirable, like the hardest thing you'll do. Um, and it's even harder, like physically, it's whatever you could say, it's harder to be an active addiction in those last stages. Like, but the difference is we're numb. Like, we don't know what's going on. We have no emotion. Like, our emotions are gone and clouded and completely walled in. And when we get to treatment and we break down that first time, like, it's a floodgate. It's dangerous. It's scary. Like,
Yeah.
and he was there the whole time, man. Like,
That's sick.
he was going through it, walking through it. He works in recovery now too. He works a pretty raw job, like in hospitals, like, and he inspires me every day. And I mean, just having somebody that gets it, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
gets
That's
it,
all it
like
is,
on
really.
a crazy level. Like, he gets it, not only that he's in recovery, not only that he's a former athlete, not only that he's in his 20s, like, no, but he was at treatment at that same place at the same time, like, with me.
Yeah.
And so he gets it, like, he gets where I'm coming from on such a crazy deep level, that like he can recall conversations, he can recall times I cry, like he's got all of that in his memory bank. And like you said, like that bond is wild. So um yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I've called him like with stupid shit, like with that people, maybe wouldn't understand, or they'd be like, why are you resentful about this, why is this hanging you up so much? And he's just like, yeah, man, I get it. Like,
Yep.
and having somebody say that is like one of the biggest comforts that I have in this world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's a good ass question, and it's kind of a surprising answer for me. Like, I didn't think it'd be this dude, but it
Yeah.
is. How about for you?
Hmm. Um, well, we're talking about the resentments thing. I wish I had that when I was young in recovery too. Like, damn, I want to fucking, I mean, I have it now. He's right here. You know what I mean? Um, but like, I wish I had that. I wish I had a dude in recovery in the treatment center with me that I carried out of it with, So I feel you when you say like how all he has to say is like, I know what you mean. Like,
Mm,
that's the only sentence you need. You could send like 5 paragraphs and homie would just hit you with, I know what you mean. And it's like, yeah. But for me, I think, uh, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that. I think, probably,
that's how we
um,
know it's a good question, baby.
help me the most. I mean, I can name a bunch of friends for sure. But in terms of like continued guidance and having never given up on me and having like shown me love continuously, regardless of what I'm doing, um, there's this other father figure in my life named Todd, who I met in high school. Um, who got to see me whiling out in high school,
Mm,
all through college. He walked me through the rehab. He was there for me after the rehab. He's been there today. I talked to him a couple of days ago. He's someone I talk to um, traditionally like once a week. For since my senior year in high school is when I met him. Um, his name's Todd, and he's just uh someone that, I mean, I think I always needed a father figure in my life that I could like fully trust. I had a big issue as a young kid with no father figure and not being able to trust and feeling alone. And this, it's not like a slight to my mom. It's just like as a boy and then as growing into a man, I needed a man to look up to and to talk to. I just did. And he has to the best of his abilities, and I love him to death, appreciate him. And like I'm part of his family too, like his wife and his kids. Like I'm close with his kids and like his whole family. Like whenever I'm in Baltimore, I get dinner with them and stuff.
Right.
Um, yeah, I'd say top.
I got another question for you too, like because your story is so like I love what we have here because our stories I mean it's we share a lot of the same emotions and a lot of the same experiences, but like our stories are different, like vastly different. And I mean one of the things I wonder is like when like you were clean for a long period of time without any real like you had a program, let's say, of being, sober. Like you had some contacts in place, you had some fail safes, like you had some emergency contacts, let's say, like you had Greg in your life, you had like that structure, but you were like for lack of a better term, it was like you were dry. Like you were dry,
Abstinent.
you know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
abstinent. And I'm like I want to know, like I'm so curious because I want to see if it's similar to mine. Like when did that switch like flip? Like what was the breaking point of like I need to change? Like how like was it like a were we close to drinking? Like was it like did one meeting really just like get to you? Did somebody say something in a meet? Like did you
Hmm.
like when were you like, you know what? I
Yeah.
need like this is what I need. Like this is my way of life. Like I like that switch is so because it almost appears that you did it on your own. Like
Yeah. That's a
like and
fucking.
you know what I mean? It's part of your recovery that's a mystery. It
Yeah,
is,
that's
dude.
a
I'm
good
like, dude,
question.
this
It's
origin
a fucking
story
good
is
question, bro.
wild. Like,
It's a
it's
good question. Um, I think much like how I got into recovery, much like how I came to that decision to go to rehab, it was a culmination of consequences slash experiences. I would say if I was like keeping it a stack with you, I would say that I didn't really fully buy in to the meetings, to sponsorship, to the step work until this time last year, which is nuts. Right before, I think like right before picking up my 5 year coin last year, I went to this meeting called the Great Fact. And I've talked about it a couple times, but it's like no meeting I'd ever been to before. And I've been to a lot. Not as many as I should have, but I've been to a lot. And it's like an open discussion, crosstalk meeting, hour and a half. And the wisdom in there is unreal. Like it is nothing like a meeting I've ever been to before. And I just went in there and listened for a couple weeks in a row. And I just kept coming back. I heard someone saying this in that meeting this Tuesday. He was like, same, literally a very similar situation. I think he was like 5 years sober and he was irritable and discontent and he wasn't working a program. And he went to a meeting and he told himself, you're a newcomer, act like a newcomer. He went in there, introduced himself to everyone, like just listened, got a new sponsor and started redoing the steps. I mean, it's similar to mine. I tried to do the same thing. Um,
Hmm.
but like, it's definitely a whole episode, but like a lot of that recovery, and I've said this before too. I wanted that image of sobriety and all the good things that people would associate with a sober person. I wanted all those accolades, and I didn't want to do any of the work because I had so much baggage with my mom and I, so much baggage with how I was uh, brought into this world. I had so much baggage with old friends. I had hurt a lot of people. Um, and so when I found out early in recovery that I had to face all that, I was like, ooh, maybe not right now.
All right.
uh, um, and like Greg kind of said too, the circumstances of my early recovery were all geared towards swimming and geared towards school.
Hmm.
Like, stay sober and you can come back on the swim team. stay sober, and you can come back to the school. Stay sober, and you can, get back to having a normal life. So early on, that was like I said, like how I had that metaphorical gun to the back of my head. That's like why I stayed sober early. Like I knew it was good for me. I knew it was a good decision. Um, um, and there was tons of ups and downs. Like if things were all hitting, if I was swimming fast and school was good, and I had a girlfriend or whatever, I would be like, "You're lit." Like the recovery is great, you know. And if I wasn't swimming well, my relationships were falling apart, and school was too hard, it was recovery's fault. It
Right.
was like, it was like, oh, I mean, I literally militarized, not militarized. I like armed my recovery to get out of relationships. I used it to
Mm.
get out of engagements. I can use it to get out of class. I used it to get out of homework, bro. Like I used that shit. I mean, I was fucked up when I was back at Denison, in
Mm.
some respects. Like if I was going to be late on a paper because I wasn't doing this, that, and the other,
Recovery.
I would be like, hey, like, I'm in recovery. It's really hard for me. And it was, which that part was true. But I was using it as a way to get out of doing a paper or whatever,
Yeah.
and I used it a lot like that in relationships. I used it a lot like that. And I don't look back on that happily, but that's just facts. But I mean, like it was, when I tell you that junior year was a hell, that was also a big changing point. I'd say the second closest to last year when I started going to this meeting here in LA. My junior year at Denison, I lived by myself and came multiple nights really close to relapsing. Nobody would have known. I lived by myself. I would like lock myself in my room. My friends would come like knock on. I had a friend, Dan. He would come and knock on my door, text me like, "I know you're in there. Like, come out. Like, are you okay?" I wouldn't come out. Like, I was crazy in my head, bro.
Mm.
Like, and going into my senior year, I went to meetings that summer, but I didn't get a sponsor, but I went and sat in meetings. Um, and then went to meetings more my senior year. Still didn't get a sponsor, but I went and sat and listened and kind of used that as like a refill bar. So
Yeah.
like I skidded by for like 3 years there.
Yeah, dude. It's funny, like you weaponize, like, and I do this too. Like, I mean,
Weaponized, that's the word.
I weaponized like recovery. You know, I use it. I almost used it as like a scapegoat, and I still do, right? For why I didn't get this done, why I can't be in this relationship, why we can't, like,
Manipulative,
why
bro.
this is gonna be late, like why, why you're wrong and I'm right. Like
Yeah, give me a break, bro. I'm in recovery.
it's like it's like the excuse for all the bad shit, right? All the bad shit it's the excuse for like, no, but I'm in recovery, so I'm not gonna be able to, or I can't do this. And but then it's so ridiculous because then when good things start happening, it's not recovery, it's me.
Oh, I love
I'm
that.
great.
You're right.
I'm look at me
Good point.
go. Like so it gets pulled out when I need to get out of something. But when I'm hitting spots and things are happening for me, like it's not because of recovery, it's because I'm Andrew and I'm fucking terrific.
Yeah, and we have
Like,
to be careful not to get into like morbid reflection because that feels good to both of us. I think we both feel good doing that. I know I do. So I mean, I'm not trying to like completely demonize how I was when I was back. And like Greg
right,
spoke that I did a lot of good things too. But I mean, your
right.
question was, how did you do it? And like I did it by skating by.
I mean, that's just the truth at the
Yeah.
end of the day. Like, and it's a scary place to be. But I mean
Yeah.
it's funny. Like I almost like, I mean, and I'm gonna use this now. It's like an origin story. It's Mitch's origin story.
Yeah.
Like where
Well,
the
yeah. We talked to the, yeah. No, I'm not even gonna say that. All right. I got another question for you, my friend. And I love I'm really interested to see what you have to say to that. Say to this. Why do you think the younger community is disproportionately underrepresented in recovery?
Oh man,
Why do you
like
think the majority of the rooms are 30, 40, 50 years old?
I mean, number one, I think it's an education thing, man. Like, and I'm not gonna pretend that this is like an original thought or idea because this is a thought that's coming into my head, and that I'm grateful that I kind of have seen through speaking with Chris. I mean, I like think about like when you were in high school or middle school or like whatever, what did you like your image, what was your image of a drug addict? What do you see? Like immediately, boom, what's your image?
The under the bridge homeless person.
Yeah,
That's
like
what it was for sure.
completely
That was the joke.
unkempt, just like pissing his pants, just like living in, you know, squalor, just like everything is effed.
Yeah.
Like, and I think I mean, to be honest, I think that's one of the major issues is like people have this idea that a drug addict or an alcoholic, like they have to hit certain jackpots, like
Mm.
of 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 material deterioration, like
Mhm.
to qualify
Mm.
as a drug addict or an alcoholic. Like you gotta be homeless and
Oh,
jobless,
oh,
and all your friends are gone, and
arrested.
you have a massive police record, and you've committed unspeakable crimes, and the crazy thing is that that's all the material stuff. Like nobody really talks about or is educated on like how does the drug addict or the alcoholic feel inside
Mm.
this whole time? Like what are the feelings they're struggling with? Like what are the drivers of this behavior that come from here and from here? Like, and because of that, I think, and I know this from my own educational experience, is like a lot of us don't think or acknowledge or want to acknowledge that we have a problem until it's too late. Like until we've reached these points, like until we've reached these jackpots of homelessness and joblessness, like and the material things do start to disintegrate. Like a lot of the people that I work with down here or that I see in meetings, like they're in their 30s and 40s and 50s, you know, and they're there because their wife is going to divorce them, or they're going to lose custody of their kids, or their job is, their company is going to fire them if they don't figure this out, or whatever. Like the consequences have stacked up,
Mm-hmm.
and people don't get ahead of this thing because that image is burned in their brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not that bad. Like I don't live under a bridge. I don't drink hooch. I don't shoot dope. I don't like all of these extremes. And because of that, like I think people who use addictively and drink alcoholically and who are young and in their 20s or their teens even, like I mean, we were in our teens, like fully, could have used a seat in the halls,
Yeah.
and we didn't, or I didn't, and we didn't at first because every time that a little thought crept across my brain, like I don't know, like be you might be an addict, like anything in my brain that wanted to tell me that was squashed, because that logical part of my brain was like, no, but I'm not homeless, and I'm not like none of these things have happened to me.
Can't relate.
Right. Like, and it's that comparison and lack of identification. Like, and that's like, and this is another whole episode in and of itself, but like, where does that like that idea come from? Like, it's cultural, it's in the education system. It's like nobody thinks, like nobody asks about the emotions, like why are you using so much at a young age, like it's not, those aren't the questions that we're asking. Those are the questions we need to ask, is why you feel this way about yourself, why are you this angry, or why are you this resentful, or why do you hate yourself in this way. Like it's like, how much are you using, or like oh, he still has his job. Oh, he still goes to school. But like none of that matters. Like at the end of the day, like none of that matters if our soul is literally rotting. Like, and because of that, like, I mean, I don't think people get in early enough because they think they got to check all these boxes before
Mm.
they qualify.
You know, the I couldn't agree more with that. And the thing is, like, I heard this in a meeting a long time ago, actually, when I was at Denison. Some guy was saying, speaking to like getting sober young, he was like, he was an older guy, but he was like, when I was young, I said, uh, why would I stop now when I have one more? Because like that
Mm-hmm.
one more will fast forward you 10 years pretty fast before you even know it. But
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree when you're saying like not checking the box, not facing enough consequences, and like no one asking why. I agree with all three of those. Like before I went to rehab, and I can't believe I forgot this when we were doing all that, talking about all that. Um, my freshman year, because I got kicked off my sophomore year. My freshman year, my mom took me to an outpatient facility, which I ended up going to and being a person at like after I got out of inpatient. But they did an intake thing to see if I had a problem. It was kind of like, I think I might have a problem. Let's go do an intake checkbox thing and see if you have it. And I went in the room with this lady. She was a younger lady, a little bit older than me. Immediately turned on like the charm and started flirting with her. And like she was asking what my usage levels were. Totally brought that down. All I told her was that I smoked weed, or whatever. And like we were laughing about it. And I was like, my mom's crazy. She's making me come in here. I don't have a problem and like all this stuff. And it was just check boxes. And like
Mm-hmm.
after she compiled all of that and looked at it, she was like, well, according to this, you don't have a problem. Like, it was almost like a high five,
Good job.
you're good, baby.
Get
And I
back
remember
out there.
they
Keep
handed
going.
me, they handed me the paper and I like went out to my mom and like mic dropped that, I was like, don't have a problem. She just said
Look,
so.
mom, I got an A.
Yeah, right. And that was still like, that was like a year out from getting sober. But uh, I think also the reason why is like, and this mirrors what you said, is like um there's not enough no, I'm not going to say that. It's mm,
Say it.
I was going to say cuz I've had this crazy back and forth with my sponsor and other people in recovery about anonymity and role models and stuff like that, and we're not role models, but and I'm not saying like look at us and model your life after us. I'm just saying
Please
that like
don't.
yeah, please don't. I'm just saying that like the loudest voice in a room, specifically in an AA room, most of the time is like the dudes with hella time,
Mm.
and they've earned that, and they definitely have more wisdom than me, and it's just kind of like because I have a lot of friends that have been in and out of recovery, didn't stick with them, um, and it is very much the like, uh, who do you look to, really? Like who do you talk to, right? I remember when I was in that position, I didn't have any role models that were sober. I didn't have any role models that were clean. I didn't have anyone around me that was talking about it. Um, so I had no one to look at in that respect before I went to rehab.
Right.
Only once I entered that world of recovery did I something, see people and meet people that I could align with. But like before that, and being so young, like our society cosigns all of that behavior.
Right.
Bro, I could have kept running forever. Like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
until I died. Like I would have kept running. And I bet you 100% I could have found someone to say, "You're fine, bro. Everyone is blowing this out of proportion."
Well, that's what we
Like
do.
I
We got
was
to
just
find people to
talking
co-sign.
yeah. I mean, I was just talking to my boy before we jumped on this and he was like, "Bro, the gambling commercials are nuts now. Like DraftKings, like shoving it down your face. Gamble this, gamble that. Like gambling is an addiction. Like anything, we're all dopamine fiends. Like anything that hits your dopamine receptors is addictive. Like I hate to break it to anybody, but like your phone notifications, dopamine. Like text messages, dopamine. Likes, dopamine.
Mm.
All that shit is dopamine hits, right? And like we are a heavily, heavily, heavily addicted society. And the more addicts I'm using addicts loosely because very loosely, and this might be in poor taste, but the more addicts that are all addicting, are all using, the more everyone's going to be more inclined to be like, this behavior is okay. I
Right.
had a big issue when weed got legalized in certain states and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
just because I know how I used weed, and I know that there are people that can use weed in a responsible way, but for me, like some of that shit is just like we're just a heavily, I mean, it's like if you turn on the TV and you count the commercials that you get, one of them's going to be for beer, one of them's going to be for gambling, one of them, I mean, especially if you're watching sports because it's, catered towards guys that way. But I don't know, bro. We're an extremely addicted, overall, extremely addicted society, whatever it is, shopping, sex, gambling,
Right.
drugs, alcohol. And if you want to find someone to say you're how old are you? 22? How old are you? 23? You're young, man. I mean, that was all I needed. Like I could have 10 people say stop, and I could have one person say, keep going. Like, let's go drink. And I only needed that one person.
Yeah.
And
If
that's how strong that is.
Oh man, I couldn't agree more. Like it's funny, like I had a conversation today with a guest at Heron, and he's having trouble identifying himself as an addict. He's a young person, and I said to him, I said, listen, like he struggles with, you know, he's not he hasn't gone, let's say, deep into the harder drugs um yet. Um and he said, how could I be an addict? And he
Mm,
started listing all these things.
mm,
Like, but I don't do this, and I've never tried this, and I don't even. And I said, listen, man, like this is how I like to define addict, because it doesn't leave a lot of room for excuses. Like, are you somebody who has an unhealthy relationship with substance? Like, I'm not asking how much you use. I'm not asking if you use every day. I'm
mm.
not asking what you use. I'm not asking, like, if you use at night, if you use before work, if you can't get through. Like, I'm not asking if you're a weekend warrior. I'm asking you, do you have an unhealthy relationship with substances? Like, and that, like, and I almost saw like a light go on. Like, yes, I do. I'm like, well, to a certain point, like, I almost don't care. Like, if clinically you
Yeah, right.
have, the physical craving, or like whatever, like, if you stopped doing this, would your life improve? Yeah, it would. Okay, well, that's all the answer I need. Like, that's it right there. Like, it's such a simple answer. Like, uh, and it almost like eliminates all of those external, you know, check boxes that we need. It's all
Yeah.
about, like, what is your relationship with substance? Like, if you classify it as unhealthy, then guess what? Like, it's like it's a no-brainer. All right, this is an unhealthy, and then we need to do something about it. Like, then this is when we act. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
Well,
it seems so simple now.
yeah. It's
Like,
like it's a terrifying place to be. And I'm trying to, as you're saying that, I'm trying to specifically remember when I was like really grappling with I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. And I can't like fully, I mean, I kind of can, but I just remember it being like, it was a mind fuck.
mm,
It was like, I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Like that was a very hard thing for me to fully grapple and own because we talked about like that identity thing and like being young for both of us. Young, there are not young examples because I always looked up to other people, like specifically like celebrities or sports players or whatever it is.
right.
And I always look towards mentors in that way. and I just didn't have any in the recovery field. So it was like, who can I attach myself to? Like, oh fuck, I gotta find someone here to be like, well, he does it, I can do it. You know what I mean? That's why I think it's so important, bro. I mean, this comes full circle to what we're fucking doing right now. Is like,
Right.
I personally needed to see someone near my age, and you said this at the beginning of the episode. You had someone in there near your age doing the same thing. I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
I barely made it without it.
Mm-hmm.
But I fucking needed, not, it's not even a role model. It's not anything like that. I needed someone to share the experience with me that was like near my age. I just needed
Yeah,
that.
man.
I
And that's
needed I
why
needed
this
to
is
not feel alone in it.
and that's why this is a blessing, man. That's why this is a blessing.
Amen.
That's it.
We'll dub it on that, baby.
Yeah, bro. This has been great. I mean, 145 here. Might just keep it going. Might just stay up. I don't know, watch a couple movies,
Oh, I like that.
you know.
I like
Screw
that.
it. I'm an addict. I'm sick.
Oh fuck, bro. Yeah.
I mean, my light turned off in the middle.
There's some
I
spooky
think
stuff.
I don't know, bro. I'm kind of spooked. I don't know if I think I'm.
Yeah,
When
there's
you
been
get
a guy
scared,
standing behind
like,
you the whole time.
dude, that would be a trip. But like, when you get scared, like, and it's funny, like, yes, Steve-O, we want this on the episode, but like, when we get scared, and like, you got like you don't want to move because you're like afraid that there's something over there or there's something over there. Like, so I'm just
Mhm.
staying here. Like that,
Yep.
I'm staying here. Somebody turned the light off. Like I
Yeah.
don't. Somebody flipped a switch. It wasn't
I
my
heard it click
parents.
off, bro. I heard it
Like,
click off.
bro, like something. There's something going on down here, and I'm not liking it at all.
Yeah, just
So
keep
I'm staying
recording
right
after I
here.
after I leave. Just
I'm
keep
leaving it
recording.
on.
We'll catch him. We'll get him tomorrow. Might be too late for you, but we'll get him, baby.
This could be it, man. This could be my last transmission.
Last transmission, episode 10. But I did want to say, I said in the beginning, but I'm very thankful to you, man. These 10 episodes have gone by very fast. And it's kind of unreal. We have like over like probably like I mean, obviously over 10 hours of stuff now out, and like the thing that we're continually building. And even if it was just two viewers, you and I, like I look forward to it every week, and like it's been amazing. So I very appreciative of you.
Even if we didn't record it, even if we didn't put it out, man, this is time well spent.
Facts.
Time well spent, bro.
I
I'm
agree,
grateful for you. Love
sir.
this shit.
All right. Well, we will see all of you on episode 11
Let's
next
go.
week. Um, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Who's going to be lucky number subscriber 57? And we will keep coming back.
Keep coming back. Love you, bro.
Love you too.